ZEEKR is a rare brand. They've resisted for so long in bringing out another SUV. But this is not just another SUV. I think this is one of the best, yes, the best electric SUVs on the market today. Strong words then. My name's Elliot Richards and welcome to the ZEEKR 7X. Let's have a quick recap on ZEEKR. They first brought out the 001, the shooting brake hatchback thing. Then they bought the 009, the MPV, then the X, the mini SUV, and then the 007, the sedan. They've resisted so long to bring out an SUV, but that's until now with this, the 7X. So, expectations are sky high. And mark my words, although you might not see much of ZEEKR outside of China at the moment, this is going to be one significant brand to look out for in the future. One of the top three, I reckon. And you're probably wondering, well, Elliot, how much does this all cost? Well, in China, 239,000 RMB, or about 31,000 US dollars. And you're thinking, oh, it's not going to be that price when it goes over to Europe or Australia. No, it probably won't be. But this, in China, is 1,500 US dollars less than the Tesla Model Y. So another brand, another company going after the jugular of the Model Y. So let's see what it's all about. Today, as I speak to you, this car has received 20,000 orders in just over a week, which shows you how much demand is still in the market for electric SUVs. It hasn't petered out at all. But talking about the design language, this is a pumped up 007. It still keeps the beautiful wrap-round headlights, which start over here, and I think that's such a beautiful design touch, and it's ZEEKR developing their own design language. They got the programmable LED lights here. My only worry is in strong UV conditions that we have here in China, how long is this perspex going to last? Is it going to yellow? Is it going to look ugly? Who knows? But they look beautiful right now. Down here is Active Aero to scoop up what remains of Tesla's China strategy. And then coming around here, again, it's more standard SUV, but some really nice design details in this car, especially in the profile. Again, really love the details around the wheels, and they've got this little cutback notch here, very subtle, but kind of breaks up the design a little bit more. Down here is a bit more slab-sided, and you've got the recessed door handles here. The side is nothing to shout about, but if we go and look at the back, we'll find out a little bit more. One thing which is probably more future-proof than those front headlights is the batteries. So in this car, you have two choices. You have a 75 kilowatt hour LFP battery and a 100 kilowatt hour NCM battery. First one giving you about 605 kilometers of CLTC range. The other one giving about 780 kilometers of CLTC range. CLTC range, as we know, is on a perfect day in a wind tunnel driving at 40 kilometers an hour. So minus about 25% for actual real world driving conditions. But you know what? If you think that's fast, then put your foot down in this and it really goes. Scary. This has a disgusting 636 horsepower in a 3,000 kilogram SUV. I mean, these are mental numbers. That is more horsepower than a McLaren 600 LT. It's more horsepower than a Lamborghini Huracan Evo in an SUV powered by electricity. What? But as we all know, smashing big motors and a big battery into the bottom of an SUV is A, boring, and B, doesn't tell you how it drives, which is what I'm going to do right now. I was giddy like a schoolboy when I first drove the 007 sedan. It was honestly one of the best driving electric cars that I think has ever come out. Really captured some of that European driving dynamics, and I think the car was so much better for it. I'm hoping with this, we get somewhere close to it. I don't think as an SUV, we're gonna get that close because obviously being an SUV, it has a lot of downsides. Number one is that weight of 3,000 kilograms. Number two, it's pretty high riding as well. But the problem is you can feel the weight of this car when you start pushing it into the corners. If you're on the twisty roads like this today, we're going at a fairly sedate 50 kilometers an hour. If you start pushing it hard and braking late, that's when you could become a little bit unstuck. You can feel the weight like pushing the car forwards as you go into that corner, and you can overcook it. And you do feel it as you're going around corners. If you pull it too quickly, it really starts to lurch. Now, it does have air suspension, which does help level that out a little bit, and you can raise and lower the suspension height, but it's never going to get over the laws of physics. This is a big, heavy, high up car. Now, it does help with the battery in the bottom, but this is not built for tearing up B roads, so it's never going to match the 007 in terms of driving dynamics. But what it is good at is driving consistently, comfortable. It's a motorway muncher. This is a motorway munching car. It's meant for those long trips with the family. It's meant for going into the mountains like this, but not trying to be Nigel Mansell, if you know your 80s and 90s F1 race drivers. The question on everyone's lips is probably this: how does it compare to the Tesla Model Y in terms of handling? Frankly, those are two pretty different cars. Now, I know they're targeting some features of the Model Y in this. It's not like the Envoy, which targets every single feature and tries to make it better. This is a different product. It's like you can have this SUV alternative from ZEEKR. It doesn't have to be exactly the same or competing in the same way. So the fact it's different, it's going to be slightly different driving style to the Model Y. It compares favorably. I don't know if it's quite as planted as the Model Y. This feels a bit more loosey-goosey, a little bit more floppy, I would say, compared to the Model Y. Unfortunately, the Model Y just dominates in that area. Now, this is probably the most joyous part of this car, and although it's not groundbreaking in here, it shows a really confident and mature company who's put this together. It almost feels a bit Germanic. It's got the right number of buttons. I've got mode, drive modes, I've got opening my boot, my music settings, like playing the music and volume, I can go up and down. But there is still a few issues. Number one, it's not distinct in here. Could be any Geely product, to be honest, and I don't feel the ZEEKR-ness from the front end, which has got such a strong design, has been brought in here. And this has always been ZEEKR's kind of weak point, especially with the 001. They've always let the overall car down a little bit. Now, this is an improvement from the 001. The material quality is very strong. It's very Germanic. It feels outstanding, but the materials they've chosen, not so outstanding. So you can see where they've been able to get it at that price of 239,000 RMB. Some of these plastics are a little bit cheapy feeling. Some of these in here are not great. I'm sure you can spec those up, or there'll be a 7XX in the future. But as far as that goes, I think there's still some room for improvement. There is this 15.5 inch screen, which is outstandingly clear, great UX, UI, and this 13 inch screen in front of me, again, with just the right amount of information and quite beautiful looking. They haven't messed around with a drive mode down here. I've got my drive modes on the stalk. I haven't got indicators on the steering wheel, focusing on kind of what people are used to and what people enjoy. Seat comfort is decent, but we won't really be able to see that until we get out on the road. But really, all the fun in here is for the rear seat passengers. So let's go there next. So, Geely and ZEEKR have a real challenge on their hands, but it's not just their challenge, it's all Chinese automakers' challenge. As they move into global markets, how do you make a global car which fits the tastes of Chinese consumers, but then also the tastes of Western consumers or Southeast Asian consumers? Because they're very different. But I think ZEEKR has managed to do it with the 7X. Now, this could easily be a business person's ferry around car with a driver in front, put their laptop on here, it's comfortable enough. But then it can double up on the weekend as the family run around to go to football matches or go out to the countryside. And I think they've managed to do it. Very comfortable seats in the back, loads of legroom for adults. I've got full ISOFIX around here. But most importantly, I've got storage space. The ZEEKR tell me we have 32 storage containers in here, including underneath the seats, with these two rather nasty plastic drawers down here, which I can store my colouring books and my colouring crayons in here. I can adjust the pitch of my seat with the buttons down here, making it more or less comfortable depending on where I am. Got a really lovely pocket in here, which I can charge my phone with USB-C and USB chargers in there. And of course, the standard drinks holders here. To top it all off, glass roof really helps with the feeling of space in this quite dark interior. However, I've got some bad news. The piano black supplier has been in touch with Geely again. Said, I've got a new piano black material for you guys to use. I'm going to festoon the 7X with piano black. And he has festooned this interior with piano black. It's here, it's here, it's in the front, it's everywhere. There's too much piano black. Why does piano black mean premium upmarket interior? For me, that's one step too far, but it's otherwise a small point in mostly a perfect rear. Perfect rear. So I wasn't such a big fan of the 007's rear end. I thought it looked a bit unfinished and a bit bulky, but as an SUV, the 7X really kind of stretches that bum out and it makes it look in proportion. It looks really good. I love the really subtle detail in these LED lights. You've got to look really closely. Loads of little points in it. It looks beautiful close up, very premium. What do we get in the ZEEKR 7X? Well, the boot comes with 616 litres of space, so quite a long way off the Model Y's 850-ish litres of boot space. Not to worry though. We have extra storage space down here, which is quite deep. It goes all the way down about half my arm. And then this one folds back once, folds back twice for a little bit more space in there. It doesn't just stop there though, because there's two buttons here to raise and lower the suspension. So if you're having trouble putting something in, you press this button once and the car lowers itself. How cool is that? And then you can raise it again with just one touch button in there. I do want to show you one other thing though, so come follow me. If I touch my screen here, you may not be able to see this, but I'm going to close the boot there. Then I'm going to spin the car around. I'm going to open the frunk, because we do have a frunk. There's extra boot space. It's not very much though. It is only 44 litres. Basically, all you can fit in there is your charging cables, and that is it. You won't be getting any shopping in there. With the all-wheel drive version, it's 44 litres. With the rear-wheel drive version, you get a little bit more. I think it's around 65 litres of frunk space in here. So again, just really for your charging cables. One area it really doesn't lag though is the self-driving, which clearly beats Tesla's attempt here in China by a country mile. It's just so much better. It doesn't nag. You just get in the car and you just get on with it. You just do 2 taps down on the lever and off it goes. No bonging, no binging, no annoying, pointless sounds. Just gets on and do it. Now this is the self-developed in-house system, not using Mobileye, which is what some of their previous models used. So again, showing that what they've got on the market at this price point, that 240 odd thousand RMB, to get a self-driving feature like this, that you don't have to pay a subscription for, really just shows how much further advanced these Chinese manufacturers are compared to Western manufacturers and Tesla in China. Right, now we're really going on the proper twisty stuff, and as you can see, the body roll is not too bad at low speeds. I can really feel it kind of pitching in a little bit, but actually feels decent. But as soon as you go a bit too fast or you push it a bit too far, that's when it starts to come apart. I'm not feeling so much direct response from the road through the steering wheel either. It feels a little bit flaccid. It just doesn't give me any response through the wheel of, kind of bumps I'm going over. So I don't get much sense of what I'm driving. The steering wheel's way too light. At the end of the day, I don't matter. Me driving this car like a lunatic in the mountains is not who this car is for. This car is for Auntie Mabel going to the shops. It's for Uncle Phil going to the doctors, or your mum and dad taking you out to go fishing in the afternoon. I don't know why all of my ideas are set in the 1950s, but anyway, that's what I've based them on. So I think, that's what this car is good at. It has to be a good all-rounder. It doesn't have to be a performance sedan, a performance SUV. Yes, you've got 636 horsepower under your right foot, and you have solid brakes and you have really good air suspension, but it's not for driving like a lunatic on mountain roads. It's just for short thrills on your daily commute. That's what this car is all about. What I am a big fan of, and this is becoming more apparent as we're going on this drive, is that how it ergonomically just feels right in the cabin. And it's not something you always think about, and it's very hard to actually pinpoint how it just feels right, but the position of the steering wheel, where I can rest my arm, the location of the important buttons down here, the UI, the UX, it all kind of combines into making something which just feels very comfortable and natural to use. If you were coming from a BMW X5, I think you would find jumping into the 7X a really comfortable and easy experience. And that's what this car is really all about, is convincing those BMW drivers or convincing those Mercedes SUV drivers to jump into something like this. And it becomes natural. It's not a big scary move into an EV or scary move into an EV from a new company. It's a natural progression, a natural next step. You know, the indicators are in the right place. The buttons on the steering wheel are familiar to a BMW driver. The driving modes may be a little bit unusual, but you get used to that very quickly in a car like this. My seating position, where the buttons are down here to control the windows, it's an evolution, but it's a gentle evolution. Now, in terms of that suspension feel, yes, it's good, it's got air suspension. It raises the car by up to 230 millimeters, which is quite a lot. It can do the rough stuff. It can go off-road. If you've got the all-wheel drive version, even better. Those silicon carbide motors really help to power it up steep slopes and scrabbly terrain. What it's really meant for is churning along the motorway miles, just gobbling them up. And I think there's no better place to be than in this cockpit. I'm not bothered about kind of the design now that I'm in here and driving. It's indistinct. It makes me focus on the driving itself. I don't have too many distractions. I don't have fancy bits of interior to distract me. I've got the right number of buttons on my steering wheel. I've got the right number of buttons down here. I can charge my phone. The seat is not super supportive. It's okay. I think the firmness is good, but there's not much in terms of the side bolstering here. Maybe there's an upgraded model like the 007, which has a bit more side support and can pinch you if you're going around corners. But to be honest, you don't really need it in an SUV like this. It does feel a bit soft. It's like a soft roader in the style. I don't think it's going to take on a Land Rover anytime soon. But you know what? As an all-rounder, this is all right. It's more than all right. It's actually really bloody good. And you know what? Legacy automakers can't even come close to offering an experience like that. And that's why this is one of the best SUVs on the market today. Take that, Legacy.